Joining me now for our last session today is Dr. Robin Sargent. She's an entrepreneur, author of the Do It Messy approach, and a recognized top 100 learning influencer. She also founded Idle Courses, Idle Talent, and Idle Academy, pioneering innovative approaches in the learning and development instructional design field. Today, she will be talking about professional development through deliberate practice. And without further ado, Robin, welcome to the ELBX Online. You are on mute.
Well, I guess today's my first day on Zoom. It's not, but I told you I was on mute. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate it. Thank you for all of you that are hanging in here for the last session of the day. And I'm so glad that you joined me, and I hope to make it worth your while. So I like to play on AHA slides. This is definitely a play shop. So come play with me. You can scan the QR code with your phone, or you can just open another tab in your browser and go to ahaslides.com/0, the number, hero. So 0 hero. Hero was taken, so it's 0 hero. So you can join me, and I can actually see if you're joining me, and so far I have 0. Okay, good. I got 11. Is that work? Got 11. It's showing on mine, but it's not quite showing up here. It's all right. I got 18 of you, and I know there are 65 participants, and this really will be more fun if you come and join me on AHA Slides. This is where you will interact with me and answer questions and all that jazz. All right. Well, you can join at any time. The QR code will stay at the top, and so will the link. All right, so I'm so glad you're here today because I actually need your help. The title of this presentation is 0 to Hero in the Idle World, Professional Development Through Deliberate Practice. And currently, I am the 0, and this is not working over here. That's not fun. Okay, let me try again. Boink.
Yeah, you might need to just restart your screen share.
Okay. Let's see if it'll work this time. Yeah, that's not working because I have a different thing. Let's see. I'll go boop. So sad. This is not a me error. This is an AHA slide there. For once. Okay. I got 30 over here. I got nothing over here. That is so sad. Okay, so can I? Okay, I think it's working. It's working. Okay, all right, good. Thanks for hanging in there with me for this. Okay. All right, back to where we were. This is the presentation title. I'm the 0 in this presentation. That's why I need your help. And the reason why I'm the 0 is because I have been a teacher and a trainer and a professor. And mostly for the last 5, 6, 7 years, I've been a virtual instructor-led trainer, but I have never received feedback on my performance as a virtual instructor. So I need your help through deliberate practice. And my big goal, of course, is to get better at this, to continue to do more and more virtual instructor-led trainings and presentations and play shops, as I like to call them. And so in order to do that, I need your help in order to help me get better. And I'm going to get more into what that means about how you can help me in just a second. But first, I want to know, what is your current role? Are you a chief learning officer, a manager, an instructional designer, an e-learning developer, or something I didn't think of? Oh, it's locked. You know what? Here we go. There you go. Oh, we got some others. What are the others? You can put them in the chat. A trainer. Okay, got you. So you wouldn't call yourself, because you are a facilitator, so you wouldn't call yourself an instructional designer. I got you. All right, next time I'll put trainer on my list. All right, great. Well, even trainers can, this will be useful for you as well. Good. All right, this is good. That's I like to know who's here with me today, and where you're at in your role. So, how would you judge your level of competency for judging presentation skills? All right, good. We got some experts. I need experts because I need your help. All right. Also, I'm sure you've been in quite a few virtual instructor-led training presentations. And so I'm sure that you can give feedback on how someone does. That's really what I'm looking for. All right, great. Well, we got a pretty competent group here. And so I am very happy to have you all be my expert guides, right? So you are my coaches today because not only am I going to talk about deliberate practice, we're going to demonstrate deliberate practice while walking through the process, and I am your student. So how many of you, and you can put a little smiley, a little heart or thumbs up or whatever, if you've heard of deliberate practice before today. Oh, no, is that a sad? That means you have not heard of deliberate practice, or you have? Okay, all right, so sad. No, don't be sad. Don't be sad. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to tell you about deliberate practice today. So I have to tell you that I am obsessed with deliberate practice. I'm like a religious convert. I have seen the light, and I really want to share my testimonial for you. So as Stephanie mentioned at the beginning, I founded Idol Academy. Well, it's actually the first and only virtual vocational school in the entire industry. And from the very beginning, when I started my school back in 2019, I had 25 students join that very first cohort. And from the beginning, I knew I wanted it to be hands-on and application-based training. I knew that I wanted to help these people that have master's degrees or people that wanted to transition into the field, into learning development, grow and land jobs, right? And, for many of us, getting a degree, especially a master's degree, used to be a guarantee for a great career. And now it's barely a foot in the door, because what are they looking for? They're looking for skills and being able to do the job the first day that you are hired. And so this pace of change has accelerated, and companies are valuing skills over just education and degrees, right? I saw that many of you are instructional designers or e-learning developers, or even, as you said, trainers. And so I'm wondering, how many of you would you agree that instructional design is a practice? As an instructional designer or an e-learning developer, you are a practitioner. So you can give me a harder, okay, awesome. Oh, we're on the same page, right? Then that's how I approach learning design skills from the perspective of a trade school. And so from the very beginning, it was just like, this is the same process. I'd have my students go and learn something. They had to go and create. I told them to do it messy, get out of their perfectionist tendencies, just go and make something, because you can't give feedback if you don't have anything to give feedback on. Give feedback and implement it from your peers, and do it again and implement it from an expert. At the time, I was the only expert. But then in June 2020, I went from enrolling 30 students a cohort to 150. And even at that time, what I did in order to get more experts is I hired experts as coaches and mentors in my school. But the process always remained the same. And what blew me away about this process, and what I didn't realize, was just how powerful this process would be for my students and my school and my results, because they would turn in these horrible, ugly messes because I told them to do it messy. And by the time they would go through just 2 rounds of feedback from their peers and an expert in the field, you would see some professional level skills at the end after just these 2 rounds of feedback. And it was as if this process is a car wash and an accelerant. And so every dirty, messy asset gets scrubbed in this process. And what I didn't realize was the results would be things like students were landing their first jobs at Fortune 100 companies. They would start landing their jobs in 8 weeks or less through this process. And even more surprising, companies like Google and Amazon, they would hire 1 EIDL Academy graduate. They would be so impressed with the amount of skills that they walked in the door with that they would say, where do I get 3 more of you? And then they would come back and they would hire 3 more of our EIDL Academy graduates. And so not from the same school, just because of the skills that we developed through this process. And at the time, I didn't really know that that process is called deliberate practice. And when, along the way, I found out what deliberate practice is. I've seen the results and I've been obsessed with it ever since. Our certification started showing up in job description requirements. And through this simple process, we have developed over 600 success stories since 2019. And this is the spark. This is the fire that has never died for me. I've seen the power of deliberate practice work in our own industry for my own students. And so I'm here to share with you what deliberate practice is and how you can start implementing it into your own teams and in your own professional development, and of course, for your own learners. So I got to show you what this looks like, right? Because I could tell you all day, but let me show you a little bit of some examples of the power of deliberate practice. All right, here's a before. Here's a job aid that a student went and created and they made it messy. All right, totally okay. Now they get scrubbed just through 2 rounds of feedback. And after, right? Now, this is a pretty good after just 2 rounds of feedback. And the beauty, of course, of deliberate practice is you can continue to rinse and repeat this process over and over again. If you wanted to take it up another level, what would you do? You'd have them do it again, go through another round of expert feedback, and continue to iterate. Again, I got another before and after. And what's so interesting for these students is they look at it at the beginning, they're like, oh, it's pretty decent. And then they go through these rounds of feedback and you really can see a level of professionalism that just is not there in the befores, right? Everything becomes clearer, it's easy to read. And this works for everything. I have e-learning before and afters, I have video before and afters, but for the purposes of this presentation, it's easy just to show you some job aid before and afters. Even things just as small as the type of arrows that they use, right? It just looks more professional whenever you use those thin arrows and the designs and the way that things are lined up. Again, here's another before. Maybe if to the untrained eye doesn't look too bad, but then you start to see what happens when they go through the expert, because we know as professionals, I'm sure just like you guys all self-identified, so many of you are already professionals, and there's certain things that a professional, only an expert can see that, if you show it to your friend or your neighbor, they're like, good job, you made something, right? But that's not going to help you grow or improve your skill set. And so I just have a couple more for you just to see some more before and afters. And so I want to go through the process of deliberate practice, talk to you about the steps. And of course, we're going to apply those steps to me because I'm the zero in this presentation. I want you guys to help me become a better virtual instructor. Okay. And so that's our first step, right? The first step in deliberate practice is to start with a plan, start with a goal, just like we do for any other thing, right? And you got to know what is it that you want to master by the end of this process. So you guys already know my big goal is I want to be better at being a virtual instructor, right? And so since I'm your example, that's my goal. That's our plan. And then maybe one day I'll go and do some more, keynotes on virtual conferences or something. All right. So we got a plan, right? That's our big goal, big, hairy, audacious goal. And then the next step is if you got to break down the skills, right? What are the skills that are involved in being a great virtual presenter? right? And so since you guys are my experts, I'm going to have you help me break down the skills so that how can I be a better virtual instructor? And so help me out. What are the component skills for top-notch virtual presenters? Oh, let me unlock that submission. There you go. Go ahead and list them. Top of your head. What you got? Think of the big, broad skills. Confidence. I like it. Oh, some nonverbal communication for sure. Engaging, interactive, storytelling. Clarity. Knowledgeable. Yeah, that'd be helpful, wouldn't it? Right? Otherwise, they'd have to sit here and read from a script. Personality. It looks like engaging is winning as far as like some of those, one of the skills that you guys are all recommending. Great. All right. So we have a list of, just kind of several different skills, right? So for these top-notch virtual presenters, and it looks like the number one things that you guys are looking for are is it engaging and do they exude confidence? All right, so let's see if yours matches mine. I couldn't exactly predict what you were going to do, but I had some ideas. So if I was to break it down into, high-level skills that I would start making my plan for presentations, what's the content, public speaking, audience engagement, which I guess I saw that you guys caught a lot of these as well. Confidence and presence was up there. Adaptability, visual design, how does it look, right? Technology proficiency, don't mark me on that. And time management. All right. Now, this is still part of step 2. You got to break down the skills even further, right? So those are broad skills, but every broad skill has like a bucket of the elements that make up that skill, right? So for each of the broader skills, let's break it down into the smaller components. All right, list some skill elements for public speaking. This is one of the broader ones that we're going to talk about. Oh, usually that's automatically unlocked. What are some skill elements? What are like those smaller things that you'll be looking for in public speaking? Pacing, knowing your audience, good. Keep going. Charisma, not using filler words. Read the room. I really wish I could read the room. That's certainly a difference between a virtual and an in-person speaking opportunity, isn't it? Structure, I like that. What else you guys got? All right, good. Look at the audience. Great. All right. How about the skill elements for confidence and presence? What are those little elements that make up how you can tell if somebody has confidence? If I was going to try and help somebody improve their confidence, what are the tiny components that we would work on? Stand tall, good posture, body language, excellent. Eye contact. You guys are good. You really are expert guides. Keep it going. How to talk. Eye contact. Don't cross your arms. Good. You guys are getting really specific. That's exactly what I was looking for. Mastery. I like it. Okay. I got a last one. So there's only a couple things that you can see, right? Now we're really going to measure today just for, demonstration purposes. But what do you think are the skill elements for audience engagement? I will unlock this one. Respond to chats. Ask open-ended questions and polls. For sure. Humor is good. 1, 2. Interactivity. Stimulating questions. Nice. Ability to relate material to a story. Love it. Involve the whole audience. You guys got some great ideas. You guys definitely had some more than I have on my list, but I'll just, for the sake of, this presentation, I'll show you what I got going here. Public speaking, voice projection. I think you guys mentioned that one as well. Pace and timing was on your list. Pronunciation and articulation, tone, and inflection. I think you guys had all of those on your list for public speaking. For confidence, I did pretty much the same things you guys have: self-confidence, body language, nerve management. And then for audience engagement, the skill elements are eye contact, interactivity, empathy, and humor. I think it's probably going to be a little hard for you to judge empathy, but I would say that's probably part of that skill element. All right, great. So we've broken down the skills. We broke them into the big skills, and then you discover what are the smaller components of those skills. Your next step is to design a practice routine for each skill element, right? There's the big skill, and then there's the elements of those skills. Now, keep these things in mind that I just showed you, right? Like, how are you going to judge me on my presentation today? Because I'm going to continue on with my presentation, and then at the end, you guys are going to give me feedback for these categories later, okay? Because the next step, right, after designing a practice routine, I'm currently practicing in front of you, right, is expert guidance. And so I'm going to perform for you my expert guides. You guys, of course, are going to give me feedback at the end. So, for example, whenever you have to design a practice activity and you want to help a basketball player improve their free throw shooting, right? You need to design their practice routine to include things like their shooting stance, which is an element, their ball grip, and the release, right? And you would tweak and watch each and every one of those different elements of the skill of shooting free throws. Another easy example is learning to tie a tie. So typically this would look something like this. You learn the 6 steps, and then you repeat them in order until you've memorized them. And then maybe you start to speed it up until you've memorized the process, and you can do it quickly and mistake-free. And then once you've done it mistake-free, you can advance to other knots and fancy presentations of your ties, right? Like do a Windsor tie or whatever that is, right? And so a lot of learning designers or people who are not familiar with deliberate practice would take this process and have their learners practice each of these steps in order until they've mastered tying the tie. Now, that is actually called naive practice, right? It's the act of doing something repeatedly with the belief that repetition will improve one's performance. Naive practice is the opposite of deliberate practice. In deliberate practice, you must practice each step, but you need to have your progress evaluated by an outside expert. Just think about when you're teaching your kid to tie their shoes, right? You don't have them do it alone. You are there to guide them and give them expert tying their shoes feedback along the way. And then, as you have your progress evaluated by an expert, you change your practice sessions to focus on one aspect that you are struggling with. And so you can imagine which of these two processes, naive practice, where you just do it repeatedly, or deliberate practice, would you see faster improvement? And I'm going to make that rhetorical, and it's probably the second, right? And that is precisely what deliberate practice is. It has to include expert feedback. It's to master something hard. It's not enough to just do an activity a lot or to study the activity in detail. Instead, you must design practice activities that deliberately stretch you past your comfort zone and offer feedback on how you're doing. You got to get pushed into the learning pit. So I am certainly in an uncomfortable position, as you will, because you guys are judging and grading me, right? But that is how you get to grow. And, if I don't get feedback from you all as my experts in virtual presentations, how would I improve? Well, sure, I could go and watch the recording of this presentation, but as we all know, we are terrible judges of our own behavior. I could be overly harsh and critical of myself. And I could be like, oh, stupid Robin, you just messed it all the way up. You could have done this, that, and this, the other. much better, or I could have that Dunning-Kruger effect and think that everything that I've done today is absolutely brilliant, right? So we're terrible judges. We need an outside eye and an expert in order to grow. That really is, it's what makes all the difference. It's made all the difference for chess performance. It's made all the difference even in sports. 80% of the variance and all different sports. It's not just tennis, right? That's not just the tennis image I have up there, but it's across all sports, basketball. I mean, you name it, right? It's also a better predictor of academic achievement, right? And it doesn't have anything to do with intelligence, socioeconomic status, or whatever kind of extracurricular activities they're involved in, right? If they are doing it through deliberate practice and getting expert feedback, they will achieve more in their academics than any other factor. Doesn't matter. It's even correlated with the performance of physicians, right? Even in the medical field. And certainly I've seen it in our own industry. So far, we've covered those first 4 steps, right? You make a plan. What's that big goal? You break down the skills 2 times. You can create a practice plan, right, for each of those little skill elements. And then you get expert feedback and guidance. Well, the 5th step is to record and analyze your results. So for instance, you guys are all going to give me my results. I'm going to know what my results of how I'm doing are today. This session is being recorded. And so we can go back and I can give it to a guide and we can analyze my body language, my humor, my confidence, my presence, how I dealt with the technical issues and so on and so forth, right? So we can go and we're recording and we can analyze the results. And then you just keep repeating, right? The plan is still the same, but you're still updating the practice routines based on the expert feedback that you're getting. So for example, like one of us students in the academy, they might come and submit something and a lot of times their instruction might be sound, but their visual design is horrible, right? And so it becomes easy to start to pinpoint as an expert guide. Okay, well, so this course looks good, but the way that, for the visual design, that's what we're going to work on. First, here's the CRAP principles, submit another thing, and then that's what I'm going to be looking for, right? So it is a repeated process until you've gotten to a certain level of mastery. And of course, even masters in their own field can continue to use deliberate practice to get better, right? So I'm going to make sure that you guys got the process. Just shared it with you. 6 steps. And I want to make sure that you guys can all put it in order. I always like seeing what you guys pick for your avatars. Diana is the no-see monkey. What's Adam? What is that? Little hand. That's cute. A ghost for Amy. Little virus for Michelle. All right, ready? Put the steps in order. Number 1. All right. Well, 6 out of 10. So, so that's good. That's why I test you. I want to make sure that you guys have all the steps, right? The first step is to plan, to have your big goal. The next step is to break down the skills, right? The big skills, the skill elements, create a practice plan for those skill elements, get expert guidance, record and analyze the results, and repeat the process. All right. All right, Cynthia, well done. And Bobby. Well, we got 2 winners. All right. Well done. You guys got the deliberate practice steps in order. So there you go. So I want to share a story with you. This is Jack Welch, and he became the CEO of General Electric back in 1981, same year that I was born. And what's interesting about Jack Welch and him becoming the CEO of General Electric is because whenever he inherited this company, he looked around and he found bureaucratic inefficiencies. He found a lack of quick decision making, and overall, there was a lackluster performance across the company. And so what Jack knew was that if he wants to improve performance, he had to improve his workforce. And so, of course, how did he do it? He did it through deliberate practice. Now, he didn't actually use those words, but the things that he did were deliberate practice put into action across the company in order to increase the results of the workforce. So some of the things that he would do was he would rank all of the employees, right? And he would rank them based on how they were performing. And based on how they were performing, they would either go into, if they were high potential, right? And they ranked high, then they would get advancements, or they would get even more special training. If they were ranked low, it's called rank and yank, right? And they would either be moved to another department, or they would be let go. He also went and identified those high potential employees and started putting them into training programs that were deliberate practice, where they got expert feedback from other coaches and trainers in whatever the thing is that he was working on, like leadership development skills, decision making, right? Better processes and systems. He was even one of the first people to create an entire institute for his company, right? It was the General Electric, like Coronado Management Institute, right? And it's one of the first corporate universities. And so they would do things like simulations and case studies and role-playing exercises. Now, the interesting thing, of course, is that all of this worked. It worked so well, but by the time that Jack Welch retired and exited the company, he had grown the company by $400 billion. And those are the types of results that he got through deliberate practice. And it also set a precedent in corporate America. Now, some of the other companies, even today, that are using deliberate practice and following in GE's footsteps include companies like Deloitte, right, which is one of those big 4 accounting firms. They have Deloitte University, and what they focus on is also leadership and professional development. They offer courses, workshops, coaching sessions, and so on. As a matter of fact, I don't know how many of you heard that Deloitte, I think it was in December of last year, announced that they will be investing $1.4 billion into their learning and development programs, right? So not only are they going to continue with Deloitte University to train, right, for those leadership and professional development skills, they are reinvesting through the same modalities to train for the future skills that will come up in their business. Another example of a company using deliberate practice is Zappos, right? They are an online shoe and clothing retailer. Many of you have probably heard of them or even ordered shoes from them. They are known for their customer service, and that is exactly what they apply deliberate practice to. They do the role plays and the coaching sessions for their customer service. And of course, this approach has led to higher customer satisfaction scores across the board. Google, they have several education initiatives. They also incorporate deliberate practice. And one example for Google is the Sales Academy, right? And it's all the role playing and the feedback sessions for sales. And they've seen positive results, and it has improved their sales numbers. So something interesting that you'll probably notice is that deliberate practice is applied to those skills that drive revenue for the organization. So for Zappos, right, their big thing is what? It's customer service. So what are they applying deliberate practice to for their employees and investing in? It's in their customer service skills. So I want you to start thinking about and write them up here. What are some of the skills that drive revenue for your organization? Yeah, looks like that's pretty much similar, right? Sales, customer support, for sure. This is good. All right, looks like there's a lot of commonalities here, right? Just like for Deloitte, leadership, right, drives revenue for them, so they put their money there. Interpersonal, effective strategy, great, right? Because not everyone has the budgets for a corporate university to implement deliberate practice in person, right? But there are ways that you can implement deliberate practice, and you'll want to focus deliberate practice on those skills that are important to your organization, and specifically the skills that drive revenue for your company. So I want to talk about how to incorporate deliberate practice on a limited budget, right? Just like I mentioned, we don't all have the corporate university budgets, but there are several ways that you can incorporate deliberate practice on a small to nil budget. Now, one of the ways that I do it in Idle Academy is I actually do it through forms. So I have a type form there, and when the students are ready to upload an asset, they fill out the form, and then I have automations in the background where when the form gets filled out, then all of the form information gets sent over to Notion. Notion is a project management database type of platform. That's where all of my Academy coaches and expert guides live. And so when a new asset comes in to that Notion board, they take it, they look at it, right? They provide feedback and send it back to the student. Now, what's great about this method, a form and then going to a team of expert guides, is that it can scale, right? So if you have several different learners, you don't have to get a one-to-one for each learner. You can have a team of experts that can provide that expert guidance for a whole bunch of people. Now, in my example, I have probably about 3,000 students. Not all of them are using, a lot of them graduate and they go on and they don't come back and use the expert guidance. But just for numbers' sake, you can see that I have about 10 expert guides, and they're able to manage all of the workload. And even alumni are able to continue to submit assets, even assets that they do at work, in order to get expert feedback on them. And I have not ran into any like I'm trying to say, like they haven't said, it's too much, right? I need more team members. So that's just to give you an idea of, the amount of deliberate practice you can do just through a simple form. Another tool that you can use, ELB Learning has this tool. It's called Rehearsal. It's a video practice and coaching platform. Again, a similar idea, right? Where you, if it's doing role playing or things like that for your sales or customer service, you can have your learners create and upload their own video. It gets sent to an expert guide who can give them timeline feedback all along the way in their video. And of course, if you are really sophisticated, you can use virtual reality and adaptive learning systems to build in expert guides for your learners. I mean, it's really hard to replace a human expert guide in giving feedback, especially that targeted feedback in fields. But there's enough technology out there that they really have taken up to enough of a level where you can get some pretty good feedback just through those different technologies that are out there. Of course, I'm not sure that this is the most budget-friendly way to get that expert feedback. It just depends on what it is that you are using it for. So I'm just wondering if you guys, just while I was sharing some of those, have thought of any other tools or methods that you can use to implement deliberate practice in your own organization. How are you going to get that expert feedback? ChatGPT. Interesting. I'd be curious about how I guess you could, I don't know. I wondered how reliable their feedback would be. I guess you'd have to give me an example. We use rehearsal. Other instructional designers, for sure. Surveys, focus groups. Oh, there you go. A coaching program for presentations, forums. Excellent. Right? I like how you guys mentioned forums, right? Community is another place. That's also another place, right, where my students go and they get peer feedback from a community. So awesome. I just wanted to show you a couple more options that I have up here to add to your list as well. And just like you guys said, some one-to-one person in interactive workshops, right? Other instructional designers. We already mentioned one-to-one coaching, and sandbox environments are pretty useful as well. Rubrics are helpful just to implement deliberate practice, performance appraisals, and we've already mentioned rehearsal. And so today we have uncovered the power of deliberate practice in our training initiatives. And it's not about just doing something over and over again. It's about doing it thoughtfully and with a clear purpose. And so you're going to push your own boundaries when you get an expert guide that can come and give you feedback. And so I challenge each of you to take action, whether it's in your own organization or it's in your own professional development. If you want to get there faster, hire a coach. If you want your learners to really get it, you want to really sink in, you really want to take their skills up to another level, then they're going to need some expert guidance and feedback, right? And so it really is the key to unlocking the full potential of your learners and yourself. And so I hope that you go back to your teams and your projects and you start to think of new ways to incorporate deliberate practice. So thank you so much for joining me on this presentation. I'm Dr. Robin Sargent. I will take any questions that you have. Okay, I just wanted to wrap it up so that we can get to the best part, which is where you're going to be my expert guides, right? So here we go. I'm ready for it. Give it to me. Go ahead and rank my current public speaking skills. We got 17 out of 20. Anybody else want to rank? All right. All right. How about confidence and presence? So I've got three of them in here, just like we talked about at the beginning: self-confidence, body language, and my nerve management. Gotta say, this is the most nerve-wracking part of it all. It's like watching those numbers. But we got to move past our comfort zone in order to grow. So that's what I'm here for. All right. Oh, 47. Oh. All right, I'll work on my humor. And then any notes you have about how I can improve. Oh, that's so annoying. Bring my puppy. I do have my puppy. Teleprompter. I wouldn't want to read. Oh, I'll move my notes up. Okay. Work on ways to manage extraneous cognitive load. Love more details on what that means. Where did you find extra cognitive load? All right. So thank you again for being my expert guides. I really appreciate you guys playing along. I hope you learned a lot about deliberate practice. As Tony LaRussa says, you can't fake it during the game. The game is the report card. I have received your report card. I now know the targeted things that I can work on to improve as a virtual instructor. And I really appreciate all of your honest feedback that you guys have given me today. It really does help me find ways to improve. So remember that you don't rise to the occasion. You only fall to the level of training. And this is true for you. It's true for me. And it's true for your learners, right? And it's only through deliberate practice, right? Where we practice and we know and we get that feedback that we are able to perform in the moment. So I am happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I don't know if you guys put them in the QA box or somewhere else, but welcome. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I am active on LinkedIn. You can scan that QR code to follow me there or connect with me on there. And if you want to learn more about IDLE Academy, you can go to idlecourses.com/academy.
Thank you so much, Robin. That was fantastic. I always love how interactive the AHA slides is. We do have a couple questions in the chat, I think.
Okay.
When you were showing the grading graph on AHA slides, do the circles at the bottom, were those representing the averages?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. And then we had a question about IDLE. What does IDLE stand for?
It's actually a term that I coined and am in the process of trademarking. It stands for instructional design and online learning. Came to me. I actually have always used it. I used it even like when I was trying to transition into the field. I thought I had to write a blog, and it was called Instructional Design and Online Learning. And then later I was on the back porch with my husband and we were like chatting, and he said, IDLE, it's IDLE. Instructional Design and Online Learning, it's IDLE. So, and that was, back in 2016. And then now it's IDLE everything. So that's what that stands for. So I call people IDLEs. Instead of saying instructional designers and online learning developers, call them IDLEs.
Fantastic. We have one comment from Julie who says she loves your book.
Oh, thank you, Julie.
Yeah. And then let's see another question. For the IDLE Academy, is it possible to do like a trial period or test out a small chunk before you enroll in the whole thing?
Sure, you can, not of the actual school, but you can go and check out our challenge. It's a free 5-day challenge. You can go to idlecourses.com/challenge, and you can, take one of our courses that way. And that could give you a little taste of what it'll be like in the academy. But we also have a demo lesson that you can check out. If you go to idlecourses.com/academy, which is right there. If you scroll down, there is an actual demo lesson that you can go and interact with.
That's great. Great to hear.
You can also find a bunch of our alumni on LinkedIn. Anybody who has our school in their education, you can reach out to them and ask them about the program. Now, we have updated our entire school, and we just launched it in September. So there are people that will have experienced a different version of the academy than what we have refined and updated it to be for this current cohort.
And we have a follow-up question. Do you train on the ABBY model?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's just one of many. Just one of many.
All right. I think that is all the questions for now. Thank you so much, Robin. Oh, wait, do you train for senior ID level as well?
So it depends, right? So if you're a senior ID and maybe you are missing the e-learning development skills, 100%. That is absolutely something that we see a lot of, right? We're senior instructional designers who have mostly been working on the analysis and the design side of our field. They'll come in through the academy in order to develop their e-learning development skills and maybe polish up anything else that they want. The other opportunity that a lot of people who are senior instructional designers find, besides the upskilling that's involved in our comprehensive vocational school, is that you get access to Idle Talent, which is our contracting and staffing agency. And we only hire academy alumni to work on 1099 contracts for some of these large name brand companies. And then the other benefit too is that if you are a senior instructional designer, we only hire senior instructional designers to work as our adjunct faculty in our vocational school. And so that becomes another opportunity as well for senior instructional designers.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, now the questions are coming in fast and furious. What is your placement percentage for graduates, if you know that off the top of your head?
Yeah, so placement, we became an official vocational school authorized by the state of Georgia in September of 2022. And so we have slowly been collecting data on that, but it was a lifetime access at that point. And so people were able to enroll and they didn't have deadlines and they didn't have rules about when things had to be done. And so the way that we have tracked placements is through people self-submitting their own success stories, right? So when people reach their goal and they land their job, then they submit and say, I've reached my goal and land my job. And then we send them a Idle Academy mug in the mail. And so that is the only way that at this moment that we know as far as success stories is through success stories. And we have over 600 of them. But like I said, many people are on the lifetime access. So some people wait before they even get started and so on. But we have it's the people who do the work, they land the jobs. As much as I can tell you about my most specific data. I'm still working on that. That's also another reason why I changed the vocational school to be structured and to have deadlines and to have requirements. So this cohort that's going on right now will be the first one that'll have any clean data, right? Because they have 8 milestones that they have to meet, and then they have a graduation requirement, and they need, to do it before the 12 months is up. And so when that happens, right, when these cohort members start graduating, then I will have real good, solid data on the placement percentages.
Fantastic. Kind of data we all love.
Yeah.
All right.
How important it would be until later on, but yeah.
Yeah. The last question is, what are your thoughts on the cluster design method?
Yeah, it's interesting. I love it because, in our world, I think you need a lot of different resources and time and like a high flex learning. And so for the cluster method, right, it's about correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand from Crystal is that it's about curating resources that you can access in different ways and at different times, kind of like just-in-time learning. And so it's not necessarily a straight through course, right? But it might be like a cluster of different resources. And so I think that's absolutely useful. I like to incorporate high flex learning even in my own programs. They get one-on-one support. They get group support through like idle guide sessions is what we call them. They have virtual instructor-led facilitated sessions. They have a self-directed option. And I'm actually looking to open up some in-person classes as well next year. And in 2025, my real goal is to have a brick and mortar vocational school in Georgia so that it really truly will be more of a high flex program where you get to choose how you learn, right? You can go and you can do the self-directed one week, and you can go and show up in our in-person class the next week. And so I think there's a lot to be said about just being able to give people resources that they need in the moment when they need them, and that they don't have to go through an entire course to find that one thing, right? Just like whenever you're trying to fix a toilet or whatever, you don't want to go to YouTube and watch through an entire plumbing video. You just want to watch the one video that says how to fix your toilet. And I think that's, in summary, what learning clusters can do for us.